Imagine a place on Earth where time stands still, not in ruins or relics, but in the very essence of life. A place untouched by smartphones, satellites, or even steel. Where strangers aren't just unwelcome, they're hunted. This isn't a myth. It's not science fiction. It's real. Welcome to North Sentinel Island. Here, the Sentinelese tribe has lived in isolation for over 60,000 years. They don't seek our help, our technology, or our beliefs. They want one thing, to be left alone, even if it means killing to ensure it. Nestled in the Bay of Bengal, about 500 miles from India's coast, lies a small, forested island surrounded by turquoise waters and treacherous coral reefs. No ports. No airstrips. Just dense jungle and silence. This is North Sentinel Island, approximately 60 square kilometers, smaller than many airports. Yet, it's home to the Sentinelese, a tribe unlike any other. They speak a language no outsider understands. They've mastered survival in a place where most wouldn't last a week. And they're so hostile to outsiders that no anthropologist has ever held a conversation with them. In 1880, British officer Maurice Portman landed on the island, capturing 6 Sentinelese, 2 elders and 4 children. He took them to Port Blair, the colonial capital. Within days, the elders died of disease. The children were returned, but the damage was done. Since then, the tribe has made one thing clear: outsiders bring death. In 1974, a National Geographic crew attempted a friendly contact mission, bringing gifts and a film crew. Their goal was to approach the northern shoreline of North Sentinel Island and document the elusive tribe for a documentary titled Man in Search of Man. Hoping to win the Sentinelese trust, they brought a range of offerings: coconuts, bananas, aluminum cookware, cloth, plastic buckets, and even a live pig, meant to demonstrate goodwill and peaceful intentions. The crew anchored their boat just off the reef and approached cautiously in smaller crafts, laying the gifts on the beach and retreating to observe from a distance. At first, several tribespeople emerged from the forest, appearing curious but tense. Then, without warning, a young Sentinelese man raised his bow and shot an arrow, striking director Jean Renault in the thigh, all caught on film. The attack sent a clear message: curiosity was not welcome here. The crew abandoned the mission. Even Indian authorities, who conducted years of gift-drop missions from the 1970s to 1990s, received little more than glares, arrows, and silence. These efforts included organized visits by anthropologists and naval officers, who brought everything from mirrors and sweets to red plastic toys, coconuts, and iron tools, hoping to bridge the divide. The contact attempts usually targeted the island's western and northwestern shores, where the terrain allowed for safer boat access. But every approach was met with caution from the tribe and increasingly defensive displays, angry gestures, drawn bows, and shouted warnings in their undeciphered language. Arrows were often loosed the moment visitors lingered too long or moved too close. After a decade of efforts and no meaningful dialogue, they gave up. The tribe's position was unequivocal. If you drift too close to North Sentinel Island, you won't hear a welcome. You'll hear drums. Then, the whistle of arrows. Then, nothing but waves. In 2006, 2 fishermen, Sundar Raj and Pundit Tiwari, were fishing illegally near the island. As they slept, their boat's anchor failed, and currents dragged them ashore. The tribe was waiting. They were killed on sight. Witnesses from a nearby patrol boat saw their bodies dragged and impaled on bamboo stakes, a brutal message: stay away. Following the devastating tsunami on December 26, 2004, the Indian government dispatched aerial reconnaissance missions to assess the impact on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, including North Sentinel Island. When a government helicopter flew over North Sentinel Island to check on the welfare of the Sentinelese tribe, it was met with hostility. Tribe members reportedly shot arrows and threw spears and stones at the helicopter, signaling their desire to remain isolated. But if the Sentinelese have been so hostile, why do we keep going back? What is it about this island that calls to us, despite every warning carved in blood? That question turned deadly in 2018 when an American missionary paid the ultimate price trying to answer it. John Allen Chow, 26 years old, athletic, adventurous, deeply religious, was obsessed with one mission: to bring Christianity to the most isolated tribe on earth. He knew it was illegal. He knew it was dangerous. But in his eyes, it was divine duty. John had been preparing for years. He trained in linguistics, took survival courses, and even got vaccinated for diseases most people would never encounter. But you can't vaccinate against an arrow. He paid fishermen to smuggle him past the restricted zone. At night, they rowed him close to shore. He carried gifts, scissors, fishing line, safety pins, and his Bible. His diary reveals his heart was pounding. But he pressed on. He made first contact, shouted friendly words, held out his hands. The tribe responded with arrows. One pierced his waterproof Bible. A warning or a miracle. He turned back, alive. But he returned the next morning. That was the last time anyone saw John Allen Chow alive. From the boat, the fishermen saw the tribesman drag his body across the sand. It was never recovered. Authorities knew sending in a retrieval team could lead to more death. His body remains on the island to this day. The story exploded. Was he a martyr? A reckless intruder? Or both? Some called him a hero of faith. Others, a symbol of colonial arrogance. But here's what no one could deny. Chow's death exposed just how little we understand about the Sentinelese, and how badly the world wants to break their silence. After John Allen Chow's death, the world turned its attention not just to the island, but to the law that shields it. North Sentinel Island is part of India's Andaman and Nicobar Islands. But in the eyes of the Indian government, it's a world apart. The Sentinelese are considered a protected tribe under the Andaman and Nicobar Protection of Aboriginal Tribes Regulation, and entry is strictly forbidden. In 2017, the Indian government even removed the island from its restricted area permit system, not to make it easier to visit, but to allow officials to enforce zero contact. Why such extreme protection? Because history has taught us, contact kills. When outsiders first met other Andamanese tribes like the Jarawa or the Great Andamanese, it ended in smallpox, measles, and cultural collapse. The Sentinelese may have no immunity to common modern illnesses. A handshake could be a death sentence. A conversation could wipe them out. But critics argue, are we protecting them or imprisoning them? Is it right to leave an entire group cut off from the world? No medicine. No education. No global rights. Just isolation and arrows? Others argue, isn't it more ethical to respect their choice, to live free of modern influence, danger, and exploitation? In a world obsessed with likes, shares, and colonizing everything, they chose privacy. They chose peace. Even if it's a violent one. And in the end, who are we to say what life is best for them, when they've survived tens of thousands of years, without us? North Sentinel Island is more than an island. It's a mirror. It reflects everything the modern world tries to forget: humility, limits, and the fact that not all knowledge is ours to take. In a world where satellites can see your rooftop, where data is mined from your thoughts, where no place seems sacred anymore, North Sentinel is still a blind spot. But for how long? Climate change is creeping. Illegal fishermen still test the boundary. And curiosity, it's eternal. Governments change. Laws fade. But the hunger to uncover, to explore, to conquer, that never sleeps. Not as explorers, not as historians, but as humans. If you had the chance to visit North Sentinel Island, would you take it? Or would you walk away, and let the last mystery remain untouched?